My name is Shirley Johnson. I am a chemist by education and profession. Although after working as a separations chemist in the nuclear field here in the United States, I went to the IAEA as a safeguards inspector. I was there for 25 years. My particular expertise is in safeguarding reprocessing plants or bulk facilities that have material flowing, that have processes in that, although I'm also familiar with all types of nuclear facilities. Since leaving the IAEA, I started my own consulting company, which is a consulting company of one, me. And I work on non-proliferation and safeguards issues. And using a lot of my previous experience and also my contacts and international knowledge, I have to say. So I do a lot of lecturing at universities and at training courses, working currently on some projects for some of the new reactors that are actually more like bulk facilities, such as molten salt reactors. And that's kind of everything in a nutshell. I have a few that are just kind of my standard ones. I have one that is pretty much focused on having a career in the international nuclear world. Of course, particularly focused on the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, but talking about some of the work that the IAEA does, and my experiences there and what you might expect from that. I give lectures on reprocessing safeguards, lectures on basic international safeguards, inspections, how inspections are carried out. I developed a lot of expertise in design verification. So when you're working with very complex facilities like a reprocessing plant, there's a lot of design verification that has to take place. And so therefore I was able to develop that expertise. And then I led a task force at the IAEA that built the guidelines for doing design verification. When I was working at the Hanford site in laboratory, I have to say, I didn't really know anything about safeguards. Of course, we had some inspections, but we were a weapons facility. So our inspections were nothing like an international inspection. But a few of my colleagues went to the IAEA, and I thought, oh, wow. That sounds really exciting and interesting. I think I was more interested in the adventure of it than I really knew what they did. At that time, it was very difficult for a woman to go, that they didn't have women inspectors. And the U.S. State Department actually nominated me a number of times for positions, and I never got them. So I got a little bit frustrated with that. And so I bought a plane ticket and I flew to Vienna. Of course, it was ski season. I'm a very avid skier, so I could take advantage of skiing in the Alps. And I actually interviewed with the three people that I knew were the key gurus of safeguards. And I don't know, they were, I think, before then a little leery of hiring a woman, and I had a reputation of being quite a feminist, but they hired me immediately because of my particular expertise in safeguarding separation plants and that. And then, of course, I had to delay them because I wanted one more ski season here in the United States. So I went in the spring, and that was a much better time to arrive in Vienna. Was in the spring and not the winter. Vienna was very gray at that time. So, and then when I got there, when I left my work here in the States, my boss was very upset I said, "Oh, don't, I'll be back in 4 years. Don't worry, I'll be back in 4 years." Well, the work at the agency was very, very interesting. And there were not many people with my particular expertise. So I could really excel and really contribute at a very high level. And of course, that's good for the ego, number one. And it also allowed me to get promotions quickly in that. And so pretty soon it was 25 years. And then I retired from the agency. I only have a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry. I was going to graduate school while I was working at Hanford. And as anybody knows, it's a challenge to be working and going to school and family and everything else. And I was going towards a master's in separations chemistry. And it just finally got to the point where I could see that I really had to go for a PhD if it was going to make any particular big difference in my career. Because as it was, I was getting promotions and I was publishing, and my career was going in a good direction. So although I probably could have finished it, I did not finish my master's. I always recommend, after working at the agency for quite some time and hiring a lot of people, I was section head, and I was also head of the Rikasho project in Japan. So I hired a lot of technical people. And I have to say, in that kind of particular situation, master's was probably the most desirable for me to hire. PhDs, fantastic for doing research, things like that, because you get very narrow and very focused on something. Most jobs have a lot of boring parts to them, and certainly being an inspector has lots of boring parts and lots of exciting parts. So people with advanced education, as with a master's, and they're very open to learn more and to expand their knowledge, because, and I suppose that's with most any job, you really don't learn anything till you're on the job. And then your background is what just gives you the base to learn more. Nuclear safeguards, they should definitely care, because we do not want the proliferation of nuclear weapons. And back in the 60s and that, it was thought that, oh my gosh, we might have 20 countries that were nuclear weapon countries. And so we have 5 countries that are actually designated as nuclear weapon countries. And then we have we have 3 that have not signed the non-proliferation treaties. And then we have DPRK that was part of the international treaty and have stepped away from it. But with the inspections in that, it's given the world some confidence that there is very little spread of weapons and programs around the world. That I won't say that it's actually contained, but there's a lot of negative repercussions if a country does want to move into a weapons program. Nuclear's technologies, what's driving that right now is climate change, that we really need a source of energy that is carbon neutral. And nuclear maybe is not the total answer, but nuclear power is part of the answer, along with other sustainable energy sources. And these new technologies, these new reactors, are just really fascinating. I'm not a reactor person, but I'm just totally fascinated with the small modular reactors that can be put in remote areas, or even transportable reactors that you can put the reactor where you need it for maybe a few years, and then you can move it to another location or something. Much safer, much more standardized so that they can be maintained a lot easier. Right now, the world has so many different reactor designs that it's really difficult to move from one reactor to another reactor. It's difficult to have an international maintenance corps that can go around to different reactors. So, yeah, I think that's the big thing right now is to try to assist. As I'm sitting here looking out at the smoke from wildfires here around me, and but it's because it's been so hot. It's just so warm.